Touch the Lake. Today we will talk about managing emotions in this difficult time of COVID-19 with a distinguished Buddhist scholar whose work and interests lie in Tibetan Buddhism and modern science, who has participated in several conferences and dialogues between His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Western scientists, and has also been an official translator of His Holiness the Dalai Lama since the year 2005. He is Geshe Doji Damdul, the current director of Tibet House based in New Delhi. Touch the Lake, Geshe La.
Touch the Lake, all the viewers, thank you for inviting me to Tibettv for this short interview.
May I begin by asking, how can this COVID-19 outbreak be viewed from Tibetan Buddhist point of view?
From the Tibetan Buddhism point of view, this COVID-19 crisis is of course related to two factors, external factors and internal factors. And the external factors like our lack of the security, the security in terms of the tackling the virus, perhaps in the laboratory. This is one assumption or one speculation, and another one is from the animals, from the bats. I would say that, and there's third supposition also coming from one scientist, saying that in Wuhan, the Chinese scientists, they were thinking of coming up with the vaccine for the HIV, and then this virus somehow they could not really keep it safe, and then it broke out. So there are the three speculations there. What I would say, except for the third, I'm not too sure that, but the first and second one, because of the animals, our acute cruelty towards animals, just seeing any moving animals as food. This is the effect of this, if it is because of the animals. Then number two, as a bioweapon, it's very scary, and we can never say that it is not. So the point is that these are external factors, and meanwhile, if it is the animal cruelty, due to the cruelty to the animals, it is very important that we should come up with the next thought, that we should reconsider our behavior towards animals and to be more considerate, kind towards animals. This is number one, very important. Then number two, if it is the bioweapon, we cannot say that it is not. If it is a bioweapon, again, it is purely out of the sense of cruelty towards the other human beings on this earth. This is again out of the cruelty. So, and then now look, there with this kind of if it is a bioweapon, then some people die there. So from what we're going to discuss more, we see that the world is heavily interdependent. Today, this coronavirus, the COVID-19, very clearly made us realize that it served as a mirror to tell us that the world, this is not a huge world, it's a very small world of interdependency. And then even if your country can, for temporarily you can remain very safe, but this is just an illusion, living in the world of illusion, because that your economy is dependent on the other parts of the world. So then the movement of the people is bound to be there, and then anybody can be carrying this virus from anywhere at any time. We never know. So this virus really told us or taught us, showed us a mirror to see how this world is interdependent. No one nation can be very strongly self-sufficient and disregarding all the other nations and then thinking of destroying the other nations. This is just living in the world of illusion. So it is high time with this coronavirus. it is high time for us to realize that this world is interdependent. We have to come in solidarity. We have to come together. We can't be separated. We can't remain divided. This is the greatest message. So these form the external factors, and the internal factors from the Buddhist point of view is karma. And this karma, if you don't look at it in a very the intricate, the nuanced way of looking at it, then it may sound a little faith-based, but it is not. If you look at how this universe came into being, we see that from the science point of view, from the physics point of view, this universe came into being 15 billion years ago, from the Big Bang. And then from this Big Bang, if you ask, so the initial trigger of this whole universe is what the scientists would call as a singularity. Total uniformity is there, singularity, and then it exploded with a Big Bang, exploded, and the whole universe came into being. And this universe, then the question arises how the sum of what came out of this explosion, some eventually became water, some became fire, some became human beings, some still remain as animals, some became vegetations, some became rocks, air, and so forth. Why? This is science. There's no answer as of now of the modern science. So, and the randomness is too simplistic answer. This is not the adequate answer. And whereas if you bring in the concept, and then if you bring the concept of the concept of creation, there's so many internal contradictions there. So the concept of the karma, the concept of the karma, which then they take us to understand that the Big Bang is the beginning of the universe in one span of time. The one span of time, and where many of the scientists, physicists would say that the Big Bang is a multi-Big Bangs, it's a plural Big Bang. It's not just one single Big Bang. And some scientists would say single Big Bang. So still there is lots of debate going there. So from this, what we can say is that that a thesis or a principle, a theory, which can explain so well, coherently, as that's the concept of the karma. So karma, if one accepts the karma as the cause of this whole universe, and then now today, suddenly just like January, November last year, so from there the coronavirus started, and it disrupted the whole world. So this is surely because of the karma, and the moment we accept this concept of the karma, then it is inclined towards accepting the multiple Big Bangs. It's not the single Big Bang.
In such time of crisis, Geshe-la, the impulse is to go into emergency mode, fear, panic, and concern. How do we refrain ourselves from giving into these impulses?
That's very true. That's very true. That when such emergency arises, then people tend to go into panic mode, and the tension, anxiety, and so forth. So there, what is important for us to do is that one is that the social media, some of the information, they are very authentic and very helpful, and some information, they are not really helpful, and just for the sake of creating some excitement or creating some under fear, so just people throw these news, and then who and they bring forth these news and the information. It's a different story. So there are people with different thoughts and mindsets. So the point is that to stay away from or to keep your mind calm and anxiety free under such an emergency case, number one is the stay tuned with the current affairs or the situation. In other words, keep updated with what is happening in your country, what is happening in the world around. Keep updated. For that matter, we do have to keep in touch with the social media or the news. Meanwhile, the access of the going after social media and the news, that will not really help. Instead, in many cases, it can trigger anxiety more. So therefore, what I would suggest is that just to keep yourself updated, the let's say you can go into the Facebook or the WhatsApp and the emails and so forth for the let's say 2, 3, 4, maximum of 7 times, not like 20, 30, 40 times. The psychology is that when we go after the media or the news, news, that there's no good news there. It's all about bad news. The moment you get it, the moment you go after one news, then the say unpleasant feeling is built up within you. The second unpleasant feeling is built up within you. It is triggered within you. And then like 20, 30, 40 times, then 40 times the unpleasant feeling. So this unpleasant feeling accumulated to that extent of the number like 40 times, 30 times, 40 times, so forth. So that is something that you cannot bear anymore. That unpleasant feeling is something which cannot bear. So that feeling where you feel overwhelmed, this is known as anxiety. And this is by no means helpful to you. It's very harmful. It can affect the immune system, it can affect your sleep, it can affect your digestive system, and in other words, it can simply destroy your immune system. So this is by no means of any help. So what you should be doing is that be wise, stay away from the social media as much as possible, keep yourself updated, and then meanwhile do things like reading books and something which makes you happy. Keep doing those things. Now, from Buddhist point of view, there are some practices which will be extremely meaningful and helpful, not just now during the coronavirus, the SARS-CoV-2, this virus, and the COVID-19, the disease. So not only during this time, but I would like to share with you like the 3 points, very quick. And then if you are more interested, if you're really interested in this, you can then go into more detailed studies of this and then practice it. The benefit is going to be just amazing. Okay, so for that matter, one is finally anxiety, the calmness of your mind, anxiety mode of your mind is all the state of your mind. So the overall mind must be maintained very stable and calm, that it should not be easily affected by the external factors. For that matter, the technique is doing a single pointed meditation. So for that matter, it's very important. Just keep your body upright. Keep your body upright in a relaxed state. And if you want to sit on a chair, you can sit on a chair. If you sit cross-legged, up to you. Advice would be to sit the body upright and breathe normally. And if possible, eyes not closed, eyes and the half open, 45 degrees cast down. And then just focus your mind on the breath. Empty your mind. Forget all what you heard about, what you have to do in the future, and so forth. Just keep them aside, and just focus your mind on the breath. And of course, it sounds so simple, but in practical terms, it's quite challenging. This requires a little bit of training. So just focus your mind on the breath, and then count the breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Cycle 1. Again, breathe in, breathe out. Cycle 2, just count your breath 21 times. 21 times, and your right hand on the left hand, and place the 2 hands on the laps in restful state. And just do this count, 21 cycles of the breath. And 21 cycles equals like 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes. Then, so in the process, any mental distraction or mental laxity happens, just try to bring your mind back to the breath. This is very important. Do just 21 cycles, and even if it is going so well, what is 21 cycles? It just passes so fast. That's true. So we should be emphasized on the quality. So for that matter, just do 21 times and give a short break, like 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, or 10 seconds. Give a short break. Don't get up. Keep sitting and relax. And again, go back 21 cycles. Do it like 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening. And if you want to do in the afternoon also, you can do it like 3 times. Okay, so this will train your mind not to be easily fluctuated here and there because of the external factors. You hear news, your mind is disturbed. Okay, so that will be stopped by this practice. It will keep your mind, the basic from your mind, very stable. This is one practice that you can do. Then the number 2 practice would be quite interesting. Let's say that if you look at me, you see me as the Tibetan monk. You see me as a human being, and then if you go deeper into it, then you see that this is just nothing but made of the skin, the fatty tissues, then the bone, the heart, lungs, all these internal organs. And if you go still more closely towards that through some very powerful microscope, like electron microscope, then you start to see the cells. Cells, about like maybe 30 trillion cells. And if you still go further, zoom in, then you see that these cells are made of these cells are made of the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, the nucleus, and so forth. Still going into the nucleus, you see the chromosomes, and still going, you see the RNA, the DNA molecules, RNA, and so forth. And then you go further, you see that even these molecules, the DNA molecules, they are made of the atoms, and atoms are made of electrons, protons, neutrons. If you stay there and on the atomic level, then when you look at me, look at yourself, look at your friends, look at the people around, you see that it's just a bunch of atoms. Atoms is like 10 billion atoms. 10 into 10 to the, sorry, 7 into 10 to the raised to the power 27, which is like 7 into billion atoms. This amount of atoms constitute us, somebody who weighs like 70 kg. 60 kg multiplied by 6, not by 7. So this is how we see ourselves. In other words, we are just made of like, say, if I weigh 70 kg, I'm just made of like 7 billion atoms. That's it. Just imagine, just stay there. And this reality is not just what your mind is cooking up. It's what the reality is. But when you look at the person from outside, we don't see the atoms, we see as a person. So that is, that perception is just mere perception. You go closer, then you see that the deep inside, you see that the person's not really there. It's just the pool of atoms. That's it. And then when you do this exercise, when you go there gradually, from the body, the skin, the fatty tissues, heart, lungs, skeleton, blood, and the air that you breathe in and out, space, and so from there you keep going subtler. You end up seeing the atoms. Then on the atomic level, you ask yourself, where's this I? The person disappears. It's empty. It's quite scary initially. Don't worry. It's quite scary. And when you see that it's not really there, stay there. Stay in this experience. Just stay in this experience. Initially, there could be a tinge of a fear coming in your mind. Never mind. This is like a surgery happening. The surgery is never something appearing, but after the post-surgery, then we see that the real healing takes place. So likewise, you do this practice continuously over and over again, then this fear earlier, that the tinge of the fear that you earlier experienced will be replaced by profound tranquility, experience of profound tranquility. Physiologically, you could feel the incredible tranquility which you never experienced before. Okay, so the tranquility means anxiety diminished. So this is how to tackle the anxiety. And if you can do this practice over an extended period of time, then any situation which otherwise would trigger anxiety within you can easily be curbed by this practice. So this would be very helpful practice. Now, a disclaimer or a warning that out of what I would say is that out of 10,000 people doing this practice, which I've given you now, which is known as a meditation on emptiness of the self and emptiness of the anxiety, emptiness of the stress. So, the out of 10,000 people, one may get overwhelming fear. If you happen to be that person, and then because that I am giving you this instruction, so I take the responsibility. You can contact me directly through the Tibettv, and I'll be happy to help you. And the rest of you, if you're being very serious with this practice, you will see a new way of looking at the. You can see the breakthrough in your the say engagement with the world, and then you will have a very different experience of the world and the world inside the emotional world. You see that you get total control of your emotions. You get total control of your emotions, that they don't slide down into anxiety, anguish, and so forth. So this would be very helpful. Number two, and then number three, the practice of compassion. Let's say that say just sit down and visualize all the people who died because of the coronavirus, and then who are in hospital suffering terribly, and who are tested positive, and who live in the fear, although they are not the tested positive as yet. Just think of all of them, and you from your mind just speak as you breathe out. As you breathe out, just send your the happiness, send your virtues, send your good qualities, send your compassion towards them. As you breathe out, you just do it like 3 times. And then there are more complicated practice than this, but this is good enough for the time being. If you're interested, you can contact other teachers. You'll surely get more the instructions on how to do this practice in a more systematic way. But you do it like 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening. That will be extremely healing for you. Whether the people are really helped or not, it doesn't matter. But you will surely feel so much of benefit, so much of healing within you. Because the anxiety, what happened, the psychology, the physiology of the anxiety is that the energy within your body, it is just constricted. And when you say that, may you have happiness, may your suffering be removed, when you mentally feel that, your mind is unentangling, and it simply spreads, flows very freely. So there the tension is released, anxiety is removed. So this is the basic physiology and the psychology of the removing the anxiety. So these three practices can be done, and then of course, so this can really help us to remove our problem. Meanwhile, hygiene is very important, and washing hands very often to make sure that, and the social distancing. Of course, there are other parts the we can discuss later on.
Right, Geshe-la. So practicing compassion in time of crisis is what keeps humanity strong and together. However, with infectious diseases such as COVID-19 around, it is difficult to work physically together as a society. So how and in what ways can we practice compassion in such situation?
Okay, the question number 3 is very interesting. How can we practice compassion in the face of the coronavirus 19, COVID-19, when we are advised to be practicing social distancing and the isolating yourself from others? How can you practice compassion in action? This is a very serious question. So what I would say is that the people, for the general public and the medical staff and the concerned officials too, meaning the administrators of the nations. Of course, the administrators, they really administer to make sure that the whole country or the world, the whole country is safe. So they do the planning and so forth. And meanwhile, the people in the front line, these are the medical experts, medical staff like the doctors, nurses, and all the people in the hospital. So it's I appeal to all of you to make sure that please take the utmost care of yourself. Make sure that you are well protected to the best you can. This is so important. Your life is very important because one person has the capacity to help many other sick people, and if you become sick, and then the number, the people to handle the sick people is reducing, and then the number of the sick people will keep increasing. So this is what can potentially happen, and also that your response, what you're doing is so beneficial to humanity, and you are sacrificing yourself. This is something extremely the what we really adore, we respect, we adore. So please take the utmost care of yourself. And this is number one. Then number two is the public. The public, they must respect the social distancing. For them to be compassion, actual compassion, just the respect to social distancing, that itself is the incredibly wise approach of wise approach of compassion. Because you, by staying aside, you will not contract the virus, because of which the doctors, they don't have to face you. So therefore the number of the sick people will become less, so their burden will be less, the danger for them to contract coronavirus will be less. So for you, the real practice of compassion is for us is to practice, to really practice social distancing well. This is so important. Stay home for unnecessary purposes. Don't go out, don't meet with people and so forth. Just stay home and do something meaningful for yourself. This is the best compassion in action. This one thing. Now the world of the is a digital world. So where we see that the governments, they need funds. The people, there are many people who are starving, who are daily wagers, and who do not really, they hardly have something to eat for the day. So we just explore, we ask. Now everyone has a telephone, so we just check, ask as to which are the genuine NGOs who are taking care of feeding the hungry people, feeding the hungry animals. So just look for the genuine the NGOs, and the some governments, they are really good. They are really good. You can really support you can financially support through through your bank, through your mobile banking. You can make some donations to them, and the government needs fund, and the people need to be fed. There are people who are really struggling. This is something that we can. This is also another great gesture of compassion in action. There are so many things, in fact, we can do while being isolated, while remaining locked down. We can still practice compassion in the compassion in action. This is very much possible. Yes, and then meanwhile, be happy, stay happy. If you stay happy, the people around, they don't really have to worry about you. So in other words, take care of yourself. And then this is great compassion, because the other's burden of having to take care of you and having the fear of contracting coronavirus because of you will be lessened. So this is extremely a great act of compassion.
So this pandemic hasn't failed to remind us of the inevitable, which is death. How should we look at death from Tibetan Buddhist point of view? In what ways can we accept mortality?
Okay, this is a very serious question about the death. Yes, that's true. So this reminds us of the inevitable death and how to deal with this. For that, I would say that the one that the understand the reality. Understand the reality. This coronavirus and the COVID-19 showed us the mirror to see that number one, death is inevitable. Then number two, that the whole world is so the closely connected, interdependent, very closely interdependent. And then from this we come to realize that unless until we work hand in hand, we work together in collaboration, no one individual person or no one nation can survive independently. We are all heavily interdependent. Then from this realization must be, it is already shown to us, now we must grab at this opportunity to see the heavily interdependent world. And from this, what do you do now? Ask yourself, what do you want? I want happiness. I don't want suffering. If you don't want suffering, your suffering is dependent on others. Your happiness is dependent on others. So work with other people. Be kind. What can really make us reach out to others, or what can really make us feel ourselves as sisters and brothers amongst the different nations, the neighbors, as sisters and brothers, is only with this love and affection, feeling the closeness. So, seeing this heavily interdependent nature of the world, then the practical advice for us is to embrace others with love and affection rather than creating a division, creating a divide, and then fight. So this will destroy both, not just one side the benefit, one side win, the win and loss is both loss. So therefore, the wise people seeing this as a great opportunity as a mirror, seeing the heavily interdependent nature of the world, then the feeling of love and affection that we should embrace, not push others away from you, embrace. Okay, this is what we should be doing. So with this, seeing the reality of the death, seeing the reality of the death, so this can be seen from different angles. Somebody who believes in God, if you see the interdependent nature of the world, and on that basis, if you practice compassion, practice love and affection to the fellow human beings, to the fellow nations, then God will be very happy. You're fulfilling aspiration to God. So God will take you to the heaven for those people who believe in God. Likewise, those people who believe in karma, because of seeing the interdependency, you will embrace others with love and affection, see interdependency so well of the world, and then try to extend others with your loving the arms. So there you accumulate so much of positive karmas. These positive karmas guarantee that at the time of death, there's no need for you to be afraid of, that your future is guaranteed, future is prepared. You've already laid a very favorable future with your incredible embrace of love and affection towards the fellow human beings, the fellow nations, so forth, on the basis of understanding of the interdependency, heavy interdependency of oneself and others. So that way, for the believers in karma, you see that the death is there, but there's nothing to be afraid of, because of your practice of the love and affection, which makes you accumulate so much of positive karmas on this understanding interdependence oneself and others. Then for non-believers, what I would say is that finally the world is interdependent, and then say somebody says something very nasty to you. Are you happy? You are not happy. Somebody simply smiles at you, a genuine smile. There's a tremendous feeling of ease within you. So this is what we are seeking. Whether you believe or not believer, we all seek happiness. We all mean to get rid of the suffering. So even for non-believers, by understanding interdependency and the embracing others with love and affection, your feeling of ease increases. So with this feeling of ease increasing, and then in any ways, whether you want to be believer or non-believer, everybody's to die. At the time of death, you die with so much of peace in your mind, healing, the feeling of the healing within your mind. You die in that state of peace rather than so much of agitation or anger and so forth. So in all three cases, the coronavirus, the 19, is in a way is a great mirror given to us to see the reality which already existed way we, since primordially, the only thing is we fail to see this reality. Now this COVID-19 actually showed us the mirror to see the heavy interdependency and the need for us to embrace with love and affection to the fellow beings. So this is the final message for all three kinds of people: believers of God, and the believers of karma, and the non-believers.
Geshe-la, if you were asked for 3 spiritual prescriptions to cope with the current uncertain reality with the coronavirus, what would that be?
3 spiritual prescriptions. What I would share with the viewers, I would say number 1, see this crisis not to demoralize us, but to take something, some lesson from this. In other words, let us use this crisis as a mirror to see 3 things. Number 1, how amazing it is to see the whole world is interdependent. In the olden times, First World War, World War One, World War Two, this all came into being with the belief that we are independent from you, and we survive, and you have to die. This is the total ignorance with which the people live in, and because of which all these tyrannies, all these the dictators, all these people who could not really see, who did not really get this mirror to see the world is interdependent, they then just driven by the force of ignorance, they end up in the destruction of the millions and millions of lives on this earth. So now, the one message that we can take away from this, the COVID-19, is that, wow, this is amazing. This is, the whole world is heavily interdependent. We can't say that, okay, say it's from China, so the block the virus coming into our place. No, it just, because we are all interconnected, it just penetrates here and there, and then now trillions of dollars being wasted, and then the economy, the crash happened all over the world. However much we may blame China, it will do nothing good to your nation. So this, first thing, the world is interdependent. This we have to take as a takeaway lesson, number 1. Then number 2 is that because of this, given that I want happiness, my country wants happiness, my country needs the prosperity and happiness. So therefore, the best, and knowing the reality of interdependency, this happiness will never be achieved by destroying others, but only by embracing others with love. So number 2 is try to make a commitment that now I see through my the experience that it is the love and affection which can heal the world, which can heal myself, which can heal my family, which can heal the world. Number 2, unconditional love. Number 2, and promote this love. Number 2. Number 3, with this, stay happy, be happy. Only if you're happy, you can export this happiness to others with love and affection. If you're not happy, if you don't have gold, how can you export gold? So always, please stay happy.
Geshe-la, thank you so much for being with us and giving us this opportunity to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you.